Federal government takes steps to end agro-export rejects. Trap funds Emirates suspends flights into Nigeria indefinitely. Bank of England raises rates by most since 1989, even as long recession looms. Plus, Glencoe ordered to pay £280 million over African oil bribes. This is Business Express on the network service of the NTA, and we are reaching you from Abuja, the nation's capital. I am Musa Abubakar. Now let's bring you up to speed with business development. The Securities and Exchange Commission says it is ready to collaborate with relevant stakeholders in its drive to ensure that illegal fund managers are not allowed to thrive in the country. Deputy Director and Head External Relations Department of the SEC, Mohammed Baugudu Waziri, stated this during a meeting with Crime Reporters Association of Nigeria in Lagos. Waziri observed that the menace of Ponzi scheme has been prevalent in recent times, especially with the use of social media, stressing that the SEC is committed to ensuring that Nigerians do not continue to lose money to these illegal operators. He further emphasized that the Nigerian capital market is still evolving, hence the need for all hands to be on deck to educate and guide investors, which will in turn aid investor protection. The Ministry of Industry, Trade and Investment is partnering Nigeria Export Promotion Council and other stakeholders to end the rejection of Nigeria agro exports to other countries. To this end, the Minister of Industry, Trade and Investment, Niyi Adebayo, has inaugurated a 10-man implementation committee on Nigeria agro export reject. The committee is to work as a team to make sure Nigeria agro exports are competitive at the international market.
I wish to urge members of the committee to rededicate themselves so as to be able to accomplish this urgent national assignment in good time. Distinguished members of the implementation committee, I want you to consider yourself fortunate to have been found worthy of this assignment, and as such, justify the confidence reposed in you by working as a team to realize the dream of stopping the rejection of our agriculture.
The processors, the exporters, the stakeholders, even the logistic team is a complete value chain. We need to get them informed, we need to get them to know what the international market requires, and we need to build their capacity, and we need to get the infrastructures up to date to make sure that we comply.
Meanwhile, Mexico has agreed to work with Nigeria in the area of agricultural produce inspection with a view to addressing the issues of rejection. This is coming as the two countries fine-tune arrangements to sign an agreement on the exportation of hibiscus from Nigeria. Musa Babaliu files in this report from Mexico City.
This is the Nacional de Referencia Fitosanitaria in Mexico. The center operates just like the Nigeria Agricultural Quarantine Service. It investigates and ascertains the quality of agricultural produce either going out or coming into the country. The delegation from Nigeria visited the center and they were acquainted with the procedures of inspecting farm produce. The idea is to ensure that pests and diseases are not transferred from one location to another. For instance, this room has the collection of pests detected in the country and how it was managed. Apart from the use of laboratories for disease detection, dogs are also trained on how to inspect fruits and other produce coming into the country through air and seaports. This depicts how serious agricultural quarantine is to Mexico.
Putting all that together, I think generally we can actually say Sanasika is doing a job that is quite impressive, and it's something that I think if we can replicate back at home, it will help a long way to help us control the influx of pests and diseases, which is the major objective of the quarantine service.
Es de parte de Nigeria, de los funcionarios en Nigeria, en el sentido de conocer las actividades que estamos haciendo como país.
And now this institution is willing to support Nigeria in the area of capacity building on how to dictate, treat, and also reject agricultural produce before exporting them into any country. From Mexico City, Musa Baba Aliyu.
Well, thank you, Musa Baba Aliyu. On energy matters, oil prices climbed on Friday, but gains were capped by recession fears and fresh concerns that COVID outbreaks will dent fuel demand in China. Brent crude futures rose 65 cents or 0.7% to $95.32 a barrel. U.S. West Texas Intermediate crude futures climbed 66 cents to $88.83 a barrel. Let's see price of commodities. As farmers and processors continue to count their losses due to recurring flooding across the country, the price of food commodities, especially rice, has surged in the past weeks. For instance, the price of 50 kg bag of foreign rice previously sold between 32,500 naira and 34,000 naira now goes for 40,000 naira, while local rice of the same size has increased from 28,000 naira to 37,000 naira. What factors are responsible for this development and how can it be addressed? With me in the studio to shed light on this and more is Andy Aquila, Director General Rice Processors Association of Nigeria, RIPAN. You're welcome to Business Express.
Thank you.
Okay, with the situation of flood affecting farmers, and you know that you definitely need produce from farmers to begin to process. How is that actually affecting rice production in the country?
Yes, of course. The flooding had its own havoc. It wrecked, affected most of the farmland, and then overran some of the harvest that was expected. We were expecting, but overall, we are managing to survive the bad occurrence, and processors are still processing, sending produce to the market.
But is that not affecting you? I mean, we are definitely saying that it's affecting the harvest of rice because we've seen the prices have gone up.
Yes, of course, when expected harvest is
are we just assuming that it's actually affected the rice production?
Yes, of course. What has happened is that we were expecting harvest when the flood came.
Yeah.
And what you expected is not what you eventually recover.
Of course.
That's right. And then, of course, definitely it's going to affect the pricing because now you have too many processors pursuing the little paddy that you have available. But overall, the price has not really gone as high as you know, people make it to look like, you know. Right now, we know what the millers, the processors are selling finished rice in the marketplace. Remember that price has other factors that affect it. Apart from what has happened by way of flood, there are other factors of production that has increased also that impact on the price that is eventually the final cost of finished rice in the marketplace, you know. So, well, here and there, we say that we'll see what happens in the next 1 to 3 weeks, a month max, as the water begin to recede. See what can be recovered from the flooded areas.
Okay, but this price that we are talking about, does it have to do with middlemen now? I mean, taking advantage of the situation.
Yes, that is one crisis that we face in the processing subsector. Okay. The processor sells at a price that, you know, is reasonable. But we are surprised when we hear that, like you're saying, price is selling for 40,000 naira.
Yeah, but I actually said foreign rice, so imported rice.
Foreign rice. Remember that foreign rice is smuggled into the country.
Yeah,
it did not come through the right channel, you know. And then I hear you say 37,000 naira in the marketplace for Nigerian processed rice. By the way, this is Nigerian processed rice. You know, when you give it the connotation of local rice, it make you look as if it's substandard compared to what they have smuggled in. No, it's better than what has been smuggled in. It's Nigerian processed rice. It's good quality rice. It beats those ones that have been smuggled in. It competes anywhere in the world because the machine that is used in processing that rice that has been smuggled in is what the processors are using around to process the rice. You know, the same quality, the same grain sometimes, you know. But when we hear about pricing a bag of rice selling for 37,000 naira, I can show you, and I can assure you, and I can tell you authoritatively that the processors don't sell like that.
So how much does the processor
No processor sells more than 31,000 naira. A bag of 50 kg. When you have considered all of the factors, and this is recent.
Okay, let me understand something. The processing, after you processing, that means it also includes the packaging, right?
Yes.
You package it,
yes.
and it becomes a finished good.
If you just packaged, bagged, all of, you know, cleaned up, packaged in a way that you throw it to the market. You know, when you have netted off all of the factors, you know, you discover that no processor in Nigeria under our association is selling it more than 31,000 naira. So where is the 37,000 naira coming from? Where is the 38,000 naira coming from? And, you know, the funny thing is that it gets back to us. Rice is selling at 37,000, it's selling at 38,000. The processors are hiking price because of... No, that's not what has happened.
So how do we address the issue of middlemen now? Because middlemen seems to be the problem to every other player in the value chain. Seems like.
Yeah, what has happened is that the processors also have their distributors.
Okay.
Who they sell rice to, who pick it up. Where the problem is when it moves from the first line distributor to the second, to the third, to the fourth. You know, each of this line of, you know, distributor adds some amount to the price of rice, and then it keeps increasing. It keeps increasing. What you hear is what somebody has picked up from the shelf, probably in the supermarket, probably in a retail shop. You know, that is the price we hear, not the price that the distributor has, the processor has given to the distributor. Remember also that there are also some factors like transportation. Of course, the cost of diesel have affected transport costs, hauling rice perhaps from Kano to Port Harcourt, from Kano to Lagos, from Kano to Warri.
But this should be temporary, because even the price of diesel, there will be time when it will definitely come down.
Yeah, but you will discover that price of rice, as a matter of fact, rice is only food commodity that has the stable kind of price. If you check across all other food commodities, or is it beans, is it maize, is it even tomatoes, anything, even Maggi, the small bouillon cube that will take. Rice is one food commodity that has not increased or will not increase more than 500 naira at a time.
Okay. So now let me understand something. Can you just give us a picture of what you guys are doing to see that the Nigerian refined rice has been taken to another, where we have it in terms of refining? You understand? When you look at the Thailand rice and the rice from other countries, you see that the they are very, clean and appealing to most people that consume it. How do we take the Nigerian rice processing to that level?
Let me shock you. Perhaps some of the products you regard or you may be thinking are foreign rice are actually Nigerian rice.
Then why the perception that it's foreign?
That is the problem we are facing. And that's why I just corrected you from calling it local rice to call it Nigerian processed rice. So that, this idea local.
No, but the local it means that
yes,
it's locally produced within the country.
I know what it means.
Yes.
But to the layman, when you say local, I say, this is local, it's not foreign. Call it Nigerian processed rice. And you see, most of
we should call it Nigerian foreign rice.
No, but let me tell you something. One of the things you must know is this. There are very few imported brands into the country now. What even most people do is that sometimes, because they want to hike price, they go buy some of this Nigerian processed rice, print a bag, call it Thailand rice.
Okay, what are you doing to change this perception?
But we are doing a lot. We are doing a lot because right now the test board for Nigerians have changed.
Okay.
Nigerians are eating, and I can tell you because people call me, Nigerians are eating Nigerian processed rice.
But the complaint I often get is the fact that our rice is still expensive. Our rice is still expensive.
You just said something.
Yes.
Smuggled rice into the country is selling for 40,000 naira.
Yes.
Nigerian processed rice is selling for 37,000 naira. Where is the Naira rice is expensive? I'm coming. That's one.
But when you look at the difference, yes.
No, I'm coming. When you look at the difference lies in the fact that the Nigerian processor pays tax to government. The Nigerian processor buys this at a high cost. The Nigerian processor engages labor at a high cost. The Nigerian processor has very minimal infrastructure to contend with. Now, the smuggled rice does not pay tax. It lands Cotonou at a very cheap rate. It bypasses the porous border. And then what happens? Some of these smugglers who are briefcase merchants, what they do is that they move it from point of smuggle to the marketplace and then wait by the corner for those to sell and return money to them. Now, which is supposed to sell cheaper? That's one. The second part of it is this, like we said earlier, the price given to the distributor by the processor, if the distributor will remain or stay with the kind of margin that is not just patriotic, that also considers the average Nigerian who is buying rice, we won't be where we are now.
Okay.
But when they see, for instance, let me give you a clear picture.
We don't really have much time for that clear picture.
I would have given you a clear picture that something happened in Lokoja when you had the flooding.
Okay.
Okay?
Just briefly.
And trucks were not able to cross Lokoja to deliver rice. There was some kind of scarcity in the south. And what happened? Boom. They take the price up. Why? Those are part of the challenges.
Okay. Well, thank you very much, Andy Ekwelem, Director General, Rice Processors Association of Nigeria, RIPAN.
Thank you for having me.
Well, moving on, the Permanent Secretary of the State House, Tijani Umar, says the 2023 budget of Nigeria's seat of government will focus on completion of priority projects. He stated this at the budget defense session before the Senate Committee on Federal Character. Ignatius Nko reports.
Permanent Secretary of the State House, Tijani Umar, led the team that presented the State House 2023 budget of 21.1 billion naira before the Senate Committee on Federal Character. The 2023 budget is 19 billion lower than the 2022 appropriation.
We promise that we will continue to implement our budget judiciously for the greater good of the citizens of this country and in discharge of the mandate that has been given to us as a public trust.
We will be able to do the needful, and hopefully that will meet your needs. I assure you that if there is need for us to see you again, we'll call you almost immediately.
The Minister of Mines and State Development, Olamilekon Adebite, defended the 2023 budget of 37.2 billion naira for the entire ministry before the Senate Committee on Solid Minerals, Mines, Steel Development and Metallurgy.
This, to us, is a very important stage, because if we don't have proper performance, then we may not hope for a better performance subsequently.
The internally generated revenue for the year: royalties, 4.677 billion. Fees, 2.603 billion. And the total, it's 7.280 billion. That is our internally generated revenue. So end of this September so far.
From the National Assembly, Ignatius Nko.
For the second time in 2 months, Emirates Airlines has announced suspension of flight operations into Nigeria indefinitely. Recall that Emirates Airlines had announced the suspension of its flight operations to and from Nigeria in August. The airline said the suspension became necessary following its inability to repatriate its funds from Nigeria, noting that international carriers operating in Nigeria have repeatedly complained about their inability to repatriate funds to their home countries. Reiterating same concern in a statement by Emirates on Thursday, the airline said it has no option but to suspend flights to and from Nigeria from 29 October 2022 to mitigate further losses moving forward. Stocks across the globe ended the week positive this Friday, hours after the Bank of England implemented a 75 basis point hike to interest rates. Neka Oko has a summary of market activities.
U.S. stock futures rose Friday as investors looked ahead to the October jobs report. The Dow Jones Industrial Average Futures gained 172 points. S&P 500 futures were 0.69% higher, while futures tied to the Nasdaq 100 added 0.22%. In Asia, Hong Kong stocks briefly rose 7% on Friday, with technology and consumer stocks driving the surge. The Hang Seng Index closed 5.36% up at 16,161.14. The Shanghai Composite gained 2.43%, while the Nikkei 225 slipped 1.68%. Elsewhere, almost all sectors in Europe entered positive territory. The UK's FTSE 100 closed up 0.92% as central banks around the world continue their aggressive tightening in a bid to rein in inflation. The DAX rose 1.31%, while the French CAC added 1.84%. Stocks in Africa closed the week in mixed territory. South Africa's JSE Africa Top 40 gained as much as 2.57%. Namibia's overall index and Morocco's free float index followed in the positive trend, while Kenya and Tunisia pointed downward.
Well, that's it. Business Express returns on Monday at 3 p.m. I am Musa Abubakar. Have a pleasant weekend.